Hey everybody, my name is Michael McClintock and welcome to part 2 of the chromatic scale. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, I highly recommend checking that out first, and the link is in the description below. So I began part 1 with a very annoying question of, do you know your ABCs? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I know you know them. But part 2 has got a slightly more challenging question. Can you say them backwards, starting from G, G, F, E, D, C, B, A? I can't do it without thinking about it. It's not natural for me, but that's something you want to practice for maybe a week. Just kind of going backwards through the ABCs up to G and from G back to A. This is going to help you out a lot. So that being said, I'm going to start today on G, okay? Now, in part 1, I was using sharps, but today I'm going to use flats, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But for now, G is going to descend or go down to G flat, okay? G flat is going to go to F. And again, in part 1, I talked about having 2 exceptions to this scale, and those were E goes directly to F, or F goes directly to E. There's not going to be any kind of E sharp or F flat, so F is going to descend directly to E. E is going to go to E flat. E flat goes to D. D goes to D flat. D flat goes to C. And here's going to be the second exception. C is going to go directly to B. B goes directly to C. C goes directly to B. B goes to B flat. B flat goes to A. A goes to A flat. And that takes us back home to G. In the description below, you can find a link to my Patreon page where I have this chart and every other chart or tablature for every lesson I've made on YouTube so far. And I also recently wrote a book called Master the Guitar Fretboard and Essential Music Theory in just 10 weeks. So if you're interested in taking on that challenge, you can find a link to that in the description below as well. So it's a little annoying, or it's a little boring, or it's both. But there's a fancy little term for sharps and flats when they're the same, and it's called inharmonic. It can be an inharmonic spelling. So for example, A went to A sharp, but now I'm telling you that B is going to go to B flat, right? So A sharp and B flat are inharmonic. For now, just assume they mean the exact same thing. I think that's going to help us learn this in a more quick and just easy manner. So A sharp or B flat are the same thing, and that's inharmonic. So speaking of A, let's jump up to fret 12 on the A string and descend. So A is going to descend to A flat. A flat goes to G. G goes to G flat, and G flat's going to take us to F, an exception. F goes directly to E. E goes to E flat. E flat goes to D. D goes to D flat. And D flat's going to go to C. Second exception, C goes direct to B. Then we go to B flat. And now we're back home at A. So let's keep going. I'm going to jump up to fret 12 on the low E. So we have E descending to E flat, to D flat, to C. Second exception, right? Or one of 2 exceptions. C goes directly to B. B goes to B flat. B flat goes to A goes to A flat goes to G flat. Here's our second exception, F going to E. So let's keep going to wrap it all up. So I'm going to come up here to the D string. D, right? Fret 12 on the D. D to D flat, to C. Exception, directly to B. B flat, A flat, to G flat, to F. Another exception, directly to E flat, and to D. We did the G already, so let's come up to the B, right? B goes to B flat, goes to A flat, G flat, F directly to E flat, D flat, C directly to B, and the low E and the high E are going to be the same, but let's do it for good measure, right? So I've got E flat, D flat, C, exception to B flat, A flat, G flat, F directly to E. About 89% of you who watch this channel are not subscribed. When you subscribe, it helps in 3 ways. It helps tell YouTube that these videos are worth recommending to other guitar players. It helps keep me inspired to make more lessons, and it helps keep you informed about future lessons that are going to come out. It's free for you, and it makes a huge difference. So please hit subscribe. So just a little quick recap about week 1. Week 1, we did essentially the same concept, but ascending, and we used sharps instead of flats. So we began on A. A went to A sharp, went to B, exception to C. C sharp went to D, D went to D sharp, E, second exception, went to F, went to F sharp, G, G sharp, and A. This week, we're not using any sharps, we're just going to use flats. I recommend doing this for maybe 4 or 5 days until the flats become second nature. They're just kind of embedded in our mind, and descending becomes as comfortable as ascending. And then the final step in the process is just to kind of start saying what the sharp note or the flat note would be. So for example, if I went back to A, and then I would go to A sharp, and I would just say, well, there's B, but B was descending to B flat. And we just want A sharp and B flat to eventually become the same thing. It takes time, it's boring, which is kind of the concept of all these lessons, but we've got to know this stuff. So if I'm going to think about everything together, I'll start on A just to keep it simple. A, and A is going to go to A sharp or B flat. B, and then a beautiful exception, right? And these exceptions, these 2 exceptions to the rule really help me memorize this scale faster. I really like these 2 things. B goes directly to C. And now I know I've got to be either using sharps or flats for a few moments. So C went to C sharp and then D, but D descended to D flat. So that means C sharp and D flat are the same thing in harmonic. D went to D sharp, went to E, but E went to E flat. Okay, so that means that D sharp and E flat are in harmonic. Second exception to the rule, E goes directly to F. Nice. Don't have to worry about anything. And now I know I'm going to have to be using my brain for a few more moments. So F went to F sharp, went to G, but G went to G flat. So that means F sharp and G flat are the same. We went back to G sharp, and then to A, but A descended to A flat. So that must mean that G sharp and A flat are in harmonic. Not sexy, not the most fun thing in the world, but again, this information is crucial. If we want to get from point B to point C, right? If we want to start applying any kind of music theory to the guitar, we need to know what these, strings and spaces or frets are. It's difficult. It's not fun, I know. But this is crucial stuff to start putting into our brain, so I highly recommend start now. So you've got part 1. The link is in the description below, and now you've got part 2. So maybe just spend 5 minutes a day with it and just ascend, descend, eventually just kind of start getting comfortable with the inharmonic spellings. And this is also something that we don't even need a guitar to practice. And that can sound a little foreign to some of us who are still sort of new to the guitar, but let's say, for example, you live in a city and you have to take the subway frequently, or you have to take a bus. You can write this down, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, put a sharp in between all the notes, put a flat in between all the notes, and just read them. I mean, the more we have this on our minds and we're going through this chromatic scale, we're going through this alphabet, ascending, descending, forwards and backwards, the quicker you're going to learn it. So don't feel like you have to have a guitar on your lap every second of every minute. You have to practice this stuff. You can do it anywhere, anytime. Thanks for watching and working through the boring stuff that actually works. If this is helping you improve, subscribe. When you subscribe, it keeps me motivated to make future lessons. It helps YouTube tell other guitar players about my channel, and it's going to help keep you informed about future lessons. More is coming soon. Hit subscribe.